Hello, I'm Fergus Ryan and I would like to give you a quick introduction to the current exhibition at Sol Gallery titled Triple Figures, which I'm sharing with the American painter David Cassan and the Irish painter Nicholas Robinson. Now, I have 7 pieces in the exhibition and 5 of them are related to the poetry of W.B. Yeats, and I would like to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of those paintings. And we'll begin with this one here, which is called Silver Trout. Now, this painting is based on a poem by Yeats called The Song of Wandering Angus. And in the painting, Angus has just lit a fire and he's caught a little silver trout. And when he lays it on the ground, it suddenly turns into a glimmering girl who calls him by his name and runs away into the early morning mist. And all of his life, Angus is wandering over hollow lands and hilly lands, trying to find this girl again who called him by his name. So in the background here, this is Angus in his older years, and the setting is alongside the River Boyne in County Meath, roughly, and in the background is the great burial chamber of Newgrange, with which Angus was associated. So this one is Silver Trout. This is my second painting called Heaven's Embroidered Cloths, and it's based on Yeats' poem He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. And several of the paintings I have in the exhibition are based on Yeats' romantic poems, many of them a reflection of Yeats' own love for Maud Gonne. And we'll come back to that in a moment when we speak about another of the paintings. But in this one, the poet wishes that he were able to lay the stars and the moon under the feet of his beloved. And here she is surrounded by the stars and the heavens almost passing through her figure and stars inside her form and under her feet. So this is Heaven's Embroidered Cloths. This painting is titled Impulse, and it's based on Yeats' poem An Irish Airman Foresees His Death. Now, this has particular interest to me as my career formerly was flying in Aer Lingus, and I've conflated myself and my story with the story of the subject in Yeats' poem. And the person about whom the poem is written is called Robert Gregory, the only son of Lady Gregory, who was born in County Galway in Ireland. Robert Gregory was in the Royal Flying Corps during the First World War, but earlier he had studied at the Slade School of Art to become an artist, and he was also on the Irish cricket team. So this poem was written about Gregory foreseeing his coming death in a conflict in the clouds, to which he was driven not by hatred of the enemy or even love of those he defended, but of an impulse of delight. In the background is the home that Yeats lived in South County Galway called Tour Ballylee, and one of his poems is Yeats going up this winding stairway inside the castle, remembering lost friends and, as it were, introducing them to one another in the poem. And up here then is the Sopwith Camel aircraft that Robert Gregory was flying when he was killed in Italy in 1918. The leather flying helmet here belongs to the Norwegian master painter Odd Nerdrum, and I was wearing it and did a self-portrait in a mirror when I was visiting him in Norway in 2019. So I have conflated my own story with that of Robert Gregory in this painting, Impulse. My fourth piece is entitled The Departure, and this is a little different from the poems of Yeats, the romantic poems, because this is based on a very long epic poem by Yeats called The Wanderings of Uiscin. And in ancient Irish mythology there is a land to the west of Ireland called the Immortal Lands, or in Irish Tir na Nog, the Land of Youth. And in this story Yeats has described the coming of Niamh on her fairy horse across the sea from the Immortal Lands to take Uiscin as her husband. So at this point she's saying to Oisin, "O Oisin, mount with me and ride to shores by the wash of the tremulous tide, where men have heaped no burial mounds, and the days pass by like a wayward tune, where broken faith has never been known, and the blushes of first love never have flown." In this painting, Niamh is inviting Oisin, the young warrior, to join her on her horse and come across the sea, and he's pointing up to touch her hand and she's pointing away to the immortal lands. In the meantime, his father Finn McCool and his dog Bran are trying to prevent him from leaving. As the story unfolds, the 3 years that Oisin spends in the immortal lands are 300 years passing by in Ireland, and when he comes back, all his friends and companions are long since dust and air. I'm recording this at home in my studio before my paintings are brought into Sol Art for the exhibition, but 2 pieces are already in the gallery, and I want to show you this 5th picture now in reproduction, and it's called Cap and Bells. And once again, this is based on one of Yeats' romantic poems by that name, and in it Yeats is expressing his love for Maud Gonne and his disappointment that she turned down his proposals of marriage on several occasions. And as I read through this poem, I began to imagine the scene for myself. I began painting in my own garden with this bridge over here across a stream, and included some of my own trees. I imagined the castle that this young queen lives in, because that's the subject of Yeats' poem. The young jester in the court has fallen in love with the queen, the young queen, and that relationship is not appropriate. So he sends up his love to her and his heart and soul to her, represented by these coloured blue and red cloths, but she slams the window and then she slams the door. So finally the jester decides that he will leave the most precious part of his identity for her to find, which is his cap and bells. So early one morning she stumbles across the jester's cap and bells, and now she holds them to her bosom and she's fallen in love with him, but it's too late because he's already run away over here on the side. Now there's one other picture in the gallery as well, and that's this charcoal drawing of a friend of mine who moved from Austria to Ireland, and it's called Shamrock. And I drew this just around the springtime before St. Patrick's Day, and it is a reflection of my friend thinking about her new identity here in Ireland. This is another painting based on a Yeats poem called Penny Brown Penny, and it shows a young lover tossing a coin to ask the coin to decide whether he's old enough for love or whether he should make a particular choice. Interestingly, W.B. Yeats was a senator in the new Irish government after independence, and he was responsible in part for the design of these beautiful coins, one of which is being tossed here in this picture. So thank you for joining me in my brief tour of the paintings that will be in the Triple Figures exhibition at Sol Art, currently online and hopefully, if the virus allows, open to the public in December. So I leave you with my last painting here, which was a self-portrait I did here in my studio in a mirror, just as we were completely locked down in the spring, and I've called it Cocooned. Thank you for watching.